So let's have a little chat, shall we? This is going to be just a little bit of what can I call it? Occult talk. Because that's what I do. I'm the occult view. So let me start off by talking about American Horror Story season 10. This season is truthfully a horror it's truthfully an American horror story because it is so fucking bad that I have to watch it until the end. American Horror Story Season 10 is some motherfucking garbage. It is some garbage. Number one, the quality of storytelling is no longer the same as it was even 2 years ago. I did not even like 1984, the season 9, but it's a lot better than this bullshit that we're seeing now. And it has nothing to do with the pandemic. And I said the pandemic. It has nothing to do with that. It has more to do with the fact that Ryan Murphy and the entire team of American Horror Story, they are not really, they're not hands-on anymore when it comes to um, writing the stories and stuff like that. And they're really making some bad choices. Intertwining actors from Pose or whatever that show is and bringing them onto American Horror Story is really not a good idea because Pose is a totally different energy, frequency, and vibration. That's a totally different energy. Nothing against Angelica Ross. She was good in season 9, but the role of the chemist should have went to a biological black female, not due to prejudice or anything like that, but due to energetic frequencies. Angelica Ross does not have the right energy to play that role as the chemist. The person that should have played the chemist was Adina Porter, the woman who played the sheriff, Sheriff Barrelson. But they killed her off, which is symbolic of replacing the black woman with transgender people. I'm just speaking truth. Just speaking truth. No disrespect. Then they killed off the drag queens and the gay boys, which is another symbol of taking out another group of people who are being replaced by transgenders. No disrespect, just pointing out the fucking facts. But the energy is wrong for Angelica Ross to be playing a biological female when, in fact, she is a transgender person. The role, if that role required female energy, it should have went to a black female. If it required black female energy, it should have went to a black female. Truthfully, they should have gotten Angela Bassett to play the chemist. Either her, they could have gotten Gabourey Sidibe. They could have gotten anybody to play the chemist. Angelica Ross is not a good choice for American Horror Story. She belongs on Pose. Now, if Ryan Murphy was smart, he would pull some of his actors from 911 when they're on break and put them on American Horror Story. Because I'm not scared. None of this shit is scary. A bunch of white zombie / vampires running around in the street, that shit is not scary. And, you know, most of the time I have enjoyed Frances Conroy. She has always been a redeeming factor in American Horror Story history. Not this season. Dennis O'Hare, not this season. And these are all greats of acting. Dennis O'Hare, Frances Conroy, even Evan Peters. I'm not a Sarah Paulson fan. I can take her or leave her. She's overrated. Okay? The only role that I did like her in an American Horror Story was when she played, let's see, who did she play that I liked? I liked her as Billie Dean in season 1. Oh, Lana Winters. When she played Lana Winters in season 2, that was the best role that she was in. After Lana Winters, her star started to dim for me because they started giving it was like they were putting her in the same energy over and over again, and they were not renewing it, giving us something more creative, giving us something more new and fresher. So Sarah Paulson is not all that to me. I did like her. I take that back. I did like her as Wilhelmina Venable in season 8. She's good when she's playing those darker or more ambiguous types of roles, okay? But getting back to the fall of American Horror Story, they used to have some really good gay actors on there. Zachary Quinto, who played Leatherface in season 2. Dennis O'Hare, he's in this season. So it's not about, of course, it's not about discriminating against gays or transgender people, but if you're going to put us on there, make sure that we have talent. I'm not going to be biased because I'm gay and say, "Oh, Angela." No, she's not good in this. She was good in season 9 a little bit, but to me, she's not that good in this type of show. Why are you watering down American Horror Story now? It's become more like a Disney type of horror show. And I do believe Disney does own the rights to American Horror Story or something like that. If I'm not mistaken, Disney is involved with the production of American Horror Story. So it's really not the same. It's not. None of this is scary. It's about a bunch of, how can I put it? Not literally vampires, but just I guess you could say covert vampires or fake vampires who feed off of blood. And hopefully they're going to do 2 parts of this in 1 season. So hopefully we will get something better in the next version of this season, which should be coming up. Because right now it's by the water, but then when it's by the land, we'll be getting a whole new cast and shit like that, and hopefully it'll be a little bit better. But I'm not feeling Angelica Houston in this. I'm sorry, Angelica Ross in this energy. This energy is not for her. This particular energy that she's in right now is not for her. And it's no disrespect to her, but the energy's not for her. She should have played the sheriff. And Adina Porter should have played the chemist. American Horror Story, you need to get your shit together because you are losing the integrity of your show. You're losing the talent. Ever since Jessica Lange left, the show has not been good. And we need Kathy Bates. Kathy Bates was not on this season due to COVID-19, and she didn't want to get sick. And I understand that because Kathy Bates has a lot of health problems. But anyway, I just had to throw that out there because I am very disappointed in American Horror Story right now. This was one of my all-time favorite shows. And instead of them telling a good story, they're pushing agendas. It's okay if you want to put gay people and transgender people in it, but make sure their energy aligns with telling a horror story. Why not do a season on the horrors that gays and transgenders have to face every day in this motherfucking country and put a supernatural spin on it? How about that? That would be interesting. That would be very interesting. How would they tell that story? But this bullshit that they're doing now, I'm not feeling this. I'm just not. They are doing more of pushing agendas than telling a motherfucking story, trying to program people's motherfucking mind to think a certain way, and that's just on some bullshit. And no, I'm not enjoying thus far, I am not enjoying American Horror Story Season 10. It is boring. There's nothing scary about it. There's nothing scary about it. Even those creepy white looking pale faced monsters that are roaming around who took those black goddamn pills, but they have no talent. And we all know that those black pills, they represent melanin or chaotic melanin. And when you take it, if you have some melanin in you already, which is talent and an evolutionary advantage, then of course it will benefit you. But when you have little to none of melanin in you already, you'll turn into one of those pale faced monsters. That's what that's all about. Okay? Now, this is what I really wanted to talk about. And it's along the lines of melanin and the mark of the beast, 666, and everything that's going on right now, and the push for certain things. When we really evaluate or reevaluate what the mark of the beast really means, they're talking about black people and our melanin. And 666, we all know it breaks down to neutrons, protons, and electrons within our melanin and within our DNA. We get that, okay? But taking a further look at it with my spirit eye, when they talk about no man will be able to sell, buy, or anything without the mark, what they're really talking about, and this is why the beast is demonized so much in the Bible, because they're talking about black people. They're talking about our melanin. And they're talking about in this time, melanin, if it's vibrating on a high enough frequency, is the only way you're going to be able to survive what's happening now. That's what it's talking about. If you do not have a sufficient amount of melanin, and if it's not operating on a certain frequency or vibration, then you are not going to survive what's to come. So they've demonized melanin, and they've called it the beast, and they've called it the Antichrist because it's so powerful and chaotic. And melanin is constantly evolving, constantly evolving. And this is where I really wanted to go with this. Everybody is always talking about reptilian, aliens, reptilians, and all that old shit, right? Everybody's always talking about that. Okay. But let's really look at it for what it's really worth. Let's take away all of the Hollywood, all of the bullshit that you see here on YouTube about all these different alien races and the what do they call them? The Pleiadians and all that shit. Let's really look at it for what it's really worth, and let's really break down the symbols of what they're really saying, because a lot of these people that are giving out information are fucking kooks that are having fucking hallucinations. Okay? And they're not really bringing any motherfucking real information. They're bringing you hallucinations. They're bringing you psychosis. Because a lot of them motherfuckers are taking too many motherfucking mushrooms and shit, and they're getting addicted to it, and then their minds start turning against them. Okay? But the real motherfucking deal is this. Reptilian is part of our DNA. The chakra system is fragments of the DNA and fragments of the soul. This is what was channeled to me. And the DNA is made up of different color schemes. And I'm just saying that in layman's terms to simplify it for people because you can't see what I see. So I have to simplify it in a way people can see it. So when you see the rainbow or the LGBT flag that they've taken and they've made it into something that it's not, it has nothing to do with a sexual orientation, those colors. It has to do with the fragments of the DNA. The chakra system is actually connected to the DNA and connected to your soul. These are different fragments of your DNA and your soul. So let's say, let me put it this way in these terms. The soul is the foundation. The DNA is a fragment of that foundation. So you can say that the DNA is actually an archetype. And, Wayward has been talking a lot. Wayward Renegade Witches has been talking a lot about archetypes. And she's really making me look at it, in a totally different way now about these archetypes, even these archetypes that are put on people. So the soul is the foundation, the DNA is the archetype. And the chakra system is actually a hybrid. I know I'm going above a lot of people's motherfucking thought process. I know I've lost people. I know this is above people's thought process because uh, 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 people put so much value in the chakra system. But in actuality, the chakra system is nothing more than a hybrid of the motherfucking DNA. It's fragments of the DNA and the soul connects to the DNA. And there's so many different states of consciousness that have been color coded for our linear, or I guess you can say, is linear the right word, or for our uh, 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 for our human understanding. Let me say it that way. For our human understanding, they put those chakras in different color codes so we can understand them on each level. But it's more than, the red chakra is connected to your hip bone, the orange chakra is connected to your rib bone. It's more than that. It's much more than that. And goddamn it, I'm kind of mad. My guy wanted me a damn, them little teeny Snickers. My fucking boyfriend, he took all of them. He went out, took all the goddamn Snickers with him. He loves fucking candy. He don't gain no goddamn weight. If I eat a couple of pieces of candy, it goes all to my butt. Ciao, bye. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there. But anyway, so when it comes to reptilian, and the people that are being accused of being reptilian, see, we're looking for some slimy, ugly, scary monster. But that's not what reptilians really are. I've said this before. Reptilian is a state of consciousness. Reptilian is an aspect of our DNA. It's a very ancient aspect of our DNA. That is what they were telling us in Genesis in the Garden of Eden. That is why that particular scientist, that wasn't no motherfucking deity in the Garden of Eden, by the way. That wasn't no God. That was a motherfucking scientist. That's what was channeled to me, too. That wasn't no motherfucking God. That was a scientist that was trying to prevent his subjects from tapping into their reptilian mind, because the aspect of the reptilian mindset as we see it now is arrogant, violent, savage, and that is what we're seeing being produced now. When people say, oh, that person's a reptilian in Hollywood, or that person's a reptilian, well, they're not talking about, being from another planet. They're talking about, or they don't, what people don't understand is those people are tapping into the reptilian aspect of their DNA, because we all have reptilian DNA. I do, you do, and so does everybody else. We all have reptilian DNA. It's just a question of when you tap into it. And reptilian DNA is very violent, it's very savage, it has no emotion for the most part. It is bloodthirsty, it is materialistic, and that is the type of shit that we are seeing now. The planet is run on reptilian energy. And this type of reptilian energy was also responsible for the so-called destructions of ancient civilizations, such as Atlantis, aka Mars, Venus, Lemuria, and other ancient civilizations that they don't even tell you about. So the reptilian that you're looking for is in your DNA structure. But they have been bamboozling people because they don't want people to really look at the truth about the DNA. Because once you start to transform your DNA, then you could become powerful in a sense, or you could become all-knowing. See, that entire story in the Garden of Eden about Eve eating off of the tree of knowledge of good and evil was about her awakening the reptilian part of her DNA, knowing. And that's exactly what happened, because the descendants of Adam and Eve, and I'm only speaking in layman's terms, the descendants of Adam and Eve were very violent, savage, bloodthirsty, materialistic people. And like I said, that was no God telling them not to eat off that motherfucking tree. That was a scientist that created them in a motherfucking lab. Adam and Eve were lab rats. They were created in labs. They were hybrids. Okay? They keep you distracted and telling you, oh, reptilians look like this. Oh, reptilians look like that. Oh, the reptilians are coming. Oh, the reptilians this. The reptilians that. Oh, they destroyed this planet. They destroyed this. No. We destroyed it because we are the reptilians. And we're caught in our own motherfucking karmic choices. We are the reptilians. We are the Pleiadians, and we are all of them. It's all of that shit is encoded in our DNA. Reptilians and all that shit. You know who the reptilians are? They look just like you and I do. No motherfucking scaly skin. No motherfucking weird looking eyes. The reptilians, it's in our DNA. But they know people are stupid, dumb fucks, so they can put people up on YouTube to scare you to death and tell you, oh, the reptilians look like this. Oh, the reptilians look like that. They can even cause you to have hallucinations when you're sleeping, or when you think you're going into meditation and you think that you're talking to these beings when you're really talking to a hallucination or an illusion or an archetype. And archetypes are not motherfucking real. They're illusions. And the archetype for a reptilian is a slimy, funny eye looking creature. So of course your mind is going to create that archetype within you that is what a reptilian is. But you're never paying attention to the fact that in your DNA, you have that reptilian DNA. See, they don't want you to focus on your DNA because, the evolution of the DNA will set you motherfucking free. I think I've talked enough. You are the reptilian. You are the reptilian. We are the reptilians. And this world is ran off of reptilian energy, very low vibrating reptilian energy, materialism, murder, greed, lust, no compassion, no love. You even see the reptilian energy and agenda in the fucking black conscious motherfucking community. No disrespect, but you see it in them motherfucking niggas. No compassion, nothing but hatred. Everybody wants to be materialistic. Nobody wants to say, oh, I hurt your feelings. I'm sorry. Let me make it right. Nobody wants to do that anymore. You can see the low vibrating reptilian energy in the fucking conscious community because most of those niggas over there are fucking archetypes as well. And thank you for Wayward for pointing out what archetypes really are. And opening the eyes of people, showing them what archetypes really are and how they operate. But to distract you and to keep you distracted from the real reptilian, which is you and me, that is in our DNA. It's not out there, it's in here. The universe within you. Not the universe, but the universe, which is within you. The universe is your DNA, your divine natural anatomy. Anyway, this is the occult view, and I just thought I would drop that little piece of information. Thank you.